Hi everybody, already episode 8 of our IWWOF Talks. Thank you so much for joining. I would like to first give a quick introduction about IWWOF in case we have some newcomers on the line. So basically IWWOF was born in August 2019, originally as a Facebook digital group. And since then we have grown to be more than 5,100 members. Our audience is mainly made of Finnish and foreign women who have been living in Finland, and the purpose of our group is to help them in their journey towards the working life in Finland. Then the IWWOF Business Talks, the webinar series has been going strong now for, as said, this is 8th episode already. And the purpose of it is basically to introduce some of the most interesting and innovative change leaders in our country, and also to broaden our community horizon by giving them access to those leaders and hearing about what's going on in the industries and what kind of topics the companies are working on. Today, we're very excited to have PwC with us, Helén Jensen, who is the director for Finland, and Sanna-Maria Lanki, who is the senior manager, and they are going to tell us about their strategy around the people centricity and also diversity and inclusion more specifically. So welcome, ladies. We are very excited to have you and looking forward to it.
Yay. Sanna,
thank you.
If you are saying something.
Yes, thank you very much. Let's start. Sanna-Maria will share the screen with us. Okay, so welcome to PwC's talk with IWWOF. We're going to talk today about strategy, care, diversity and inclusion.
And hello from my part as well. Just checking that, do you see the my presentation as it should be now? Yes, great. We are doing fine with the technique after all. So to start, we can present ourselves a little. So Helén, if you would like to start.
Okay, so finally we had, as you probably heard, some technical issues here in the beginning. My name is Helén Jensen. I am a director at PwC. I have a background in finance from Hanken, and I lead our financial services team in consulting. And what I actually do is I lead large transformations for our clients, mergers, spin-off, shared service centers, organizational restructuring programs, and these kind of projects. Large projects is my specialty. And then if you come to our strategic issues, I lead the care strategy implementation. We've just started a new strategy period for the coming 4 years, and I lead it for PwC Finland Advisory. And I'm also part of PwC Finland's diversity leadership team. Over to you, Sanna-Maria.
Thank you. So my name is Sanna-Maria Lanki, and I'm a lawyer from Helsinki University background, and I've been in PwC for 4 years now. Before that, I used to work in a big law office. And I am a lawyer, as I said, and in addition, I'm a team leader in private company services. And that private company services means that I work with our clients that are family owned or startups or growth companies. And I advise them with basically corporate law, commercial contracts and restructurings and so on. And that's most about us.
Okay, so as mentioned, one of our 4 strategic areas that we launched this autumn, one of them is care. And why PwC has chosen care is we believe that the people are the core of the company, and we want to make PwC a great place to work for everybody. So great place to work for all and in a diverse environment.
Yeah, and that's our topic today. So we're going to start with a strategy, shortly about that, and that caring for people is one of the 4 main focus areas. And then we will dive a little bit more into diversity and inclusion and how is that part of care. And just to begin, a few words about PwC network. So I guess you have heard about PwC before, and it's a worldwide network, but it's a network of independent companies. So PwC Finland is its own Finnish company. Worldwide, we are quite big. We have more than 284,000 employees, and we are in 155 countries around the world. Our purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And I will come back to this one later, but this one is important to us and everything links to this. And then about PwC Finland, we have 1,200 employees around Finland in 13 different locations. And here are some key figures. And then we have here noted also the women-men ratio here. It's almost 50-50, and we will come back to that one later also. And then I guess most of you know us that as an audit firm, but we do like quite a lot of other things as well. I'm in legal services, as I noted, and Helén is business management consulting. And then we have several others, such as risk assurance, finance and accounting, tax consulting deals, and then the audit and assurance. And I have to say that audit and assurance is quite a big part of our our business, but still a lot to do. And here are some examples of our expertise, but let's not go there because it would take so much more time to go through everything. But let's jump into the strategy. As Helén noted, we started a new strategy period from the beginning of our financial year, which begins from the July 2020. And we had prepared the strategy for quite a long time before that, of course. But then during the last spring, when the COVID really hit us, as the whole world, we really had to stop to think what to do. Can we launch a new strategy in this kind of a time when we don't know what's happening and everything is disrupting? But then soon we realized that especially during times of uncertainty, we really have to have a strong strategy, and we went forward, and our staff was really involved in preparing the strategy, and then we launched it as it was supposed to be launched in the beginning of our financial year. So here you can see the name of the strategy and the picture of it. So it's PwC Finland strategies together. And the purpose is our purpose is the foundation of our strategy and the unifying force of all our lines of services. And as you can see, the purpose is to build trust in society and solve important problems. And our strategy journey is guided by our values, which you can see here. They are also really important to us, and all of our work is relied on these values. And care is one of the 5 values we have, and it is really, really important to us, and it became one of the 4 main areas of our strategy. And as you can see, the 4 areas are collaboration, sales and client leadership, digital and data skills, and caring for people. And I know that PwC is often viewed as the same way as other consulting businesses. It's hard and number focused, and so. But we decided that actually 3 of our 4 strategic points are more of a soft values or soft strategies, such as collaboration, digital and data skills, and caring for people. Sales and client leadership is the more traditional one, but also one that needs to be rethought. But this is how we decided that our strategy is. And now Helén will take us to caring for people.
Before you move on to Helén, can we go back to that slide? Just have a question.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
Hello everyone, this is Priyanka again as a co-host. And what about the caring for people? You mentioned that it is a part of your values. Is it a new addition, or has it always been a part of the company's values? And how did you decide to add it to your strategy? Or did you before also had it a part of the strategy in some form or the other?
It's been in the values all along. It's been one of our values, but we thought it's so important that we wanted to lift it into the strategy as well. So that part is new, but the value part isn't. We've had it in the values all the time, but now we're really putting even more emphasis on this part and having it along with the strategy journey for the coming 4 years with a specific focus on that as well. So we have it in 2 dimensions now, not only in the values, but also in the strategy. Yes.
Yeah, and the values are actually same for the whole worldwide PwC network, and they were rethought in, I think they were relaunched in the beginning of 2017, if I remember correct. It was the year when I joined the company, and I was really impressed of the way how the values really are in the day-to-day work, and you really have to walk the talk. You just don't have them in the company webpage, but everything is thought through the values. And now it was again, like Helen said, picked up again here in our strategy because it is so important.
Yeah, that's so nice. And maybe we can go ahead and see how it was thought through and how does it work in the company.
Yes. So over to caring for people, and what does this actually mean? So we divided it into 4 different areas. The first one is career and development. We want to offer the people at PwC a possibility to develop in their career and also develop their knowledge. So we'll focus on this in the coming 4 years on people's possibilities to equally develop their career and also their knowledge. So that's one part of the care journey that we have. The second part is leading in the new world, as we call it, is leadership. We want to develop leadership. Everybody knows if you've got a great supervisor, that's a joy. you really sort of, and if you haven't, it's not nice. So we really want to focus on this and making our superiors really good at what they're doing. So we're doing a lot of training and focusing on the care dimension also of the leadership. So this is an important area for us. And the third one is an area that we'll continue to talk about after this preliminary or this first introduction of care. We'll go further into the diverse workforce. And diversity is very important for us. And as mentioned earlier, we're 50-50. We still, like all companies, have some challenges and diversity as well. We have a lot of leadership positions that are still more heavy on guys. And diversity doesn't only mean gender diversity for us. There are other dimensions also that we need to work on, and we will work on in the coming 4 years and actually follow up the different diversity dimensions, or actually we've even more started to talk about inclusion lately, because to us, diversity means that everybody can be, in the same playground, that we aren't focused on differences. We're focusing on people or things that make us one. So this is what we're focusing on. And then the fourth dimension is well-being and a sustainable career. We have programs for well-being. So here you can mention sort of different well-being issues. Could be sort of sport related, or then overall mental sort of well-being as well. And then we also focus on giving people a flexible workforce. PwC, we have sort of very, very, very talented people. And we want to make sure that it's also, we demand a lot, but we always also want to be flexible on the other hand, and give people the possibility to have personal, personal, if you have personal challenges or changes in your career. For instance, you're on maternity leave, or you decide you want to go on a longer trip or something. We try to be flexible and arrange the work accordingly, and that's sort of in our values as well, and things that we want to develop even further. So these are the four dimensions. Yes, Caroline.
Thank you so much for introducing us to these dimensions. Trying to think of the context of Finland, being a foreigner myself, I think that the well-being is an element that really resonates a lot with people. They want to have the companies, really caring about their personal well-being. So I could imagine that this one really resonates with your employees in Finland. But when thinking about these four, let's say on an equal balance, besides maybe the well-being, which ones do you think may resonate the most with your employees, and which ones maybe are still a bit too far or too innovative, let's say, that it's not quite there resonating with them, in your view?
I think everybody in PwC, if we go through each and every one of them, the career and development part is, we have a clear ladder that you can sort of go upwards along, and it's quite in our DNA to work in that fashion, that sort of people strive forward, and we want to make here sort of make sure that everybody has the equal possibility. So I think there's a focus there. So that's sort of in the DNA from the beginning. We still need to work on that. The thing that we are really focusing on the coming 4 years is this leadership thing. So that's sort of an extra focus. I think we focused previously on the career development, but the leadership thing is really one that's lifted its head. Also, diversity work has been started on. We still have a lot of things to do, and our well-being program is quite into place, but we have some about the sustainable careers there as well. So if you ask me personally, I think that the leadership and the sustainable careers are issues that we will focus on, but all of these we aren't there yet. So it's sort of, this is a program that's 4 years, so we'll go through the different steps, and all of them will have updates in all these areas.
Yeah, and I would say that the leadership part is really important, because in a professional companies or in companies like ours, it's often that the ones who are best in the actual work, the material knowledge, are the ones who become team leaders. But to be a team leader is something more. You really have to be a good leader. You have to have good people skills. So we need to develop that dimension a lot. And I think it's good that it's in one of the 4 focus areas here to also develop the leadership skills of people who are team leaders. And it takes more than just to know your expertise well.
Yeah, thank you for those answers. And I have, like, once again, 2 questions here on these different frameworks. The one is like what Caroline said, that in Finland, the well-being aspect is anyways in the personal life or even in the work life is high. But it is still like not many companies make it into their strategy, or like it's not inbuilt in the strategy. So I would like to ask, what made you include well-being and resilience into the strategy? Was it like, did you see some things, some kind of pointers, so that if some other companies who are still thinking about it to add it to their strategy, they can think, okay, we are also going through these things, maybe it's time to include well-being in the strategy. Did you see something or some hints in the company before you added this?
I would say that we have some hints, of course. We have people, we have very, very ambitious people working for us. So, and very talented people. There's often a long queue to come and work for us, which also means that we really have to make sure that people aren't burnt out. Mm. So that we have a real, so this has been a thing that we focus on, and we try to prevent these issues. So that's why we really want to take it into our strategy as well. and
And people are our asset, because the people are the ones who work for our clients and add value. So we really have to take care of them. It's our people are the ones who make our business and like do everything. So we really have to take good care of them and have to have good people and people that who feel good to work.
Yeah, and definitely, like Sanna-Maria there said, if you're feeling well and you're in a good state, you do better work, and that's what we want to. We want to do the best for our clients. So this is sort of totally fully in line with what we do. And our asset isn't, we're not producing a phone or anything physical. We are delivering our people, which also puts our people so focus. Sort of, we are selling brain power.
Yeah, that answered it perfectly. And like the second one, just to open up a little bit, what do you mean by sustainable careers exactly? So
we mean that you have a possibility to sort of go onwards according to your own premises, according to your own timetable, and get it onwards there. So it means that, for instance, if you have these sort of things that you want to take into account, we take that into consideration, that it's focused on your personal journey.
Yeah. And it's like we don't want to recruit people and take everything out of them for 2 years and then let them go, but we want people to be able to work for us for a long time and develop the career, and so that each and every one is like important to us for a longer period than just take everything out as soon as you can and then let them go.
Ladies, thank you. We have actually a question in the chat. So in a minute, we are going to deep dive in the diversity topic. But if we are looking at the other three now, besides the diversity topic, how do you measure and assess the success of these three other streams? Do you have any kind of KPIs or performance measurement for these other ones?
Yes, and we are going to develop them even further. For instance, the career and development, we measure the average time it takes for a person to go from one step to another, and measure also if there's sort of differences between different types, sort of gender, for instance, and ethnicity and so on. So we focus there on that. Leadership is harder to measure, of course, good leadership. One of the elements how we measure leadership is we have these sort of evaluations that you do about your superiors, and also as we do a lot of leadership for our clients as well, for projects, for instance, feedback is a way for us to get measurement here on this part. Yeah. And diversity, we have different sort of dimensions where we measure, and then of course we can measure also how well follow up provider as well, how things are going. And then we also have, for instance, once a month a survey checking how people are doing. So these are sort of elements of our measurement tools in these areas. But we really try to follow up the well-being of the people working for us, as it's such an important area for us. But we will do more work on this side to get new measurements in as well. But I would say we have a fairly good sort of understanding where we are at the moment already. So we're fine-tuning things.
Yeah,
it's both very like collecting data and then the feedback culture that we have, and we try to even more have it so that we can get feedback also for the leadership skills. And
great. So I guess it's time to move into the diversity world then, and we already have questions in the chat for the diversity topic, so people are excited. So please go ahead, and if you don't cover that particular particular question we will ask you then
Yes.
along the way.
Okay,
Sounds good. Okay, so diversity and inclusion is really important to PwC. And as Sanna-Maria presented our global PwC is sort of locally owned companies in the different per country is locally owned, but we have sort of a PwC umbrella that covers the whole PwC, and the PwC umbrella includes, for instance, diversity and inclusion, and we have a council for that manages that this PwC lives up to its standards throughout the world, and the PwC global chairman is also a part of this team, which shows how important this is to us. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm part of the PwC Finland diversity and inclusion management team, and our CEO is also part of that team. So this is how important it is also in Finland that we have the top management involved in this. And then on to what is diversity and inclusion for PwC. Overall, we've tried to sort of frame it into 3 different dimensions. First, what do we mean by diversity and inclusion? And what does diversity and inclusion include for us? Because it can mean many things for many different people. And then we have a sort of an approach how to make it into action. But if I start with diversity in PwC, our focus is to include people from different backgrounds with different skill sets, experience, and so on, to create a better outcome for our clients, for our people, and for our communities. So all these 3 dimensions. And by that, we want to create or have diverse people, and then the leadership we were talking about earlier, inclusive leadership, and what we wanted to create is a culture of inclusion, which is our focus. And then each and every one of the countries has the possibility to sort of specify what diversity and inclusion means for them. And 2 of the areas are already predefined. So the gender and the inclusive leadership is the same for all. And then you can add on 1 third dimension. And here are the different alternatives that you have. And Finland has chosen, for instance, sexual orientation as our 3rd dimension. And we have the possibility to change the 3rd dimension as we want to sort of shift the focus slightly. But we always have the 2, gender and inclusive leadership.
Can I ask a question here? So have you been like changing this +1 over the time? Like how often do you change this, and what helps you decide what would be the +1 for your company?
We in the group we decided, but we started actually with gender. When we started overall with this, we didn't even add 1. We started with the gender and inclusive leadership. So that's where we started. We decided that we have to make the basis work first. So then we added on 1. So that's where we are. And we've tried to still take in all the others as well, sort of to some extent. So it's not just the 1 in that sense, it's also the other dimensions. So it's really sort of trying to have an inclusive approach, overall, so to say. But we have sort of decided that this would be the focus for now, and for as you can see here, we also have the well-being in our strategy, for instance. So these are issues, and we have, for instance, disabilities and so on. We've focused during the last years. We've also seen to that we have, for instance, facilities that are available for disabled people, even though it's not here in our 3 main dimensions. So it doesn't mean that we don't leave out the others. It's just sort of the main focus in that sense.
This is Saji here. May I ask a question?
Sorry, I don't see.
This is Saji speaking.
Yeah, Saji,
question directly, or should I be typing in the chat?
Yeah, maybe
in the chat.
it's better
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, go ahead, Kari.
And then when we have these issues, it's often that we want to make people aren't always aware of when they are sort of not being inclusive. People aren't mean by nature. It's sort of often that you don't even notice. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you don't. So we want to also create awareness of what this means. And there's a term that we use a lot called unconscious bias, that you do something without actually intending to offend, for instance, that we focus a lot on. And we want to sort of make people aware what's happening and where we are on different areas, and then build an approach and then sort of implement the solution. So this is how we approach the problems. And some of the problems are, of course, things that we are aware of from the beginning, and then we just try to tackle them and get them implemented.
Yeah, maybe one thing I was going to comment is that we have been actually having quite a few guests now from different companies around these diversity and inclusion topics. And I think, when you were saying this +1 is a focus area, it doesn't mean that you would not tolerate that any other behavior in the company would go against any person who is belonging to any of the other groups. So I think that's super important. And also when you said that you started with gender and then this inclusive leadership, and now you have the +1, I think in all the successful frameworks, or attempt to have the successful frameworks that we have observed, one of the key has been that you can't fix it all at once. Right, you got to pick your battle. You got to also make themes that resonate with people, so they don't think that, oh, now we have gender and inclusive leadership and 7 or 8 more to focus on, but like kind of creating a sense also of focus around the topic. And that doesn't stop you from, in that sense, having other initiatives, like you mentioned, for people with disability, that you have also something going on, but that in a way there is still like a clear focus around those. So at least the more and more we see around those frameworks, I think the more this kind of approach seems to make sense. And if we have other people in the audience who have not maybe seen the other episodes, I also encourage you to look at this if you're thinking of D&I for your company, because I think those are really good frameworks that we have been sharing. Of course, each and every one is a little bit different. Not everyone has this 2+1. Others have been doing with other steps. But I don't know if you agree, Priyanka. I think this is really one of the lessons learned that is coming out more and more from these diversity and inclusion topics.
That's true. That's true. And also, like, thanks, Saji, for writing your question on the chat. It goes with the same. I think you already answered it once, but maybe we can discuss a bit more. Having gender as one dimension already, is there a reason for adding sexual orientation as the third dimension? So I think what we were discussing before, that how do you make that decision of +1, how like, and what probably in practicality it looks for, like, focus. Do you have more policies regarding these 3 things, or more awareness sessions? How does it go?
Yes, we have these different, we've had a lot of speaks on, or sort of talks on the topics, and we still have measurements that are mostly in the 4 dimensions that we presented earlier. So we are focusing more on the gender and inclusive leadership in our sort of goals at the moment, and but there are sort of dimensions from the other areas that our focus is still to sort of create the environment that is good for us and for our clients and the community. So that's how we build our focus. But I'll actually come back to that point in a while, because we're going to go through the different KPIs and how we try to measure how we succeed in diversity and inclusion, because that's also very important, because this is easier an area you talk about, and then how do you measure the results?
So let's dive into there. Okay.
sorry, yes, maybe one before, because I think the one of the previous questions on the chat was also quite related to this gender topic, so not yet to the performance. So maybe we can go into that still. That do you find that there is any issues when gender diversity means that women end up leading teams where there is mostly men? Or do you think that's not particularly a problem? Again, if we talk the context of Finland, not other cultures.
We have very sort of within PwC Finland, we have different, even though we got 50-50 sort of division, we have some departments who are very heavy on women and some departments that are very heavy on men. But I would say we have more men partners and more men in senior positions. So we have issues there to sort of that we will focus on the coming years. We are putting targets on, for instance, how when we employ people and so on, that we put pressure also, for instance, on the headhunters to sort of get on higher positions people or also diverse, not just women, but more diverse aspects on this. So this is something that we really are aware of when we want to sort of change. But that doesn't mean that we're without women on the top.
You're the prime example, right? I think my understanding of your position is that you are the top ranking officer, so to say, in Finland for PwC. Is that correct? The managing director.
No. We have a lot of partners, women partners as well. We have many women partners. I really don't even. Do you, Sanna-Maria, know the exact number? I don't know, but
I can't remember it by heart. But yeah.
But we have a lot.
Yes. Yeah, so, but yourself at least may have some men perhaps in your organization and reporting to you. So in that sense, maybe the question can be directed to you, that is that an issue or not, but maybe that's for an offline discussion. I don't know, personally, I have to say that I find in Finland to be very equalitarian. So at least I have not observed for female leaders, being one myself, that it's a challenge to actually have males in the teams. Even I've had more male than female in teams before, and I've never found it to be an issue, but I don't know.
If I understand the question correctly, I don't know, like, is it that especially the PwC, it's like finance based, a lot like legal, and that's more male dominated area. So is the leadership, do you see inequality, which you said, like is there like some kind of discrimination that you have faced, or like is it very easy to be a leader if you want to be, or are there any, what do you say, glass ceiling, so to say?
I would say that it's also an issue. Some areas there's just less women around, so the basis is already sort of not equal. And in those areas we can also decide on, for instance, to do targeted recruiting. So we can sort of try to change different issues, but we can't change the market in that sense. So this is of course areas that we function on. But for instance, in legal, we have a situation where we have more female lawyers, for instance. So it depends on the area where you are and how you sort of how the split is. But we're quite good overall by 50-50 and sort of working on the senior positions and the partners also to get it up to 50-50.
Yeah, very good. Yes, please carry on. Before then we see if there is more questions coming. So please go ahead.
Okay, so in order to measure this gender diversity, we have from the Global Council some KPIs that we work on, for instance, the percentage of women in the territory leadership teams is one of them that I want to stress. And also another one is who leads the big clients. When it's actually sort of the big action is there, who is it then? So it could be sort of showing that it's fair, but is it fair sort of are we always using the same people when we have very important things? So this is a thing that we try to measure and try to see who goes to what client and who does what to make this fair. And this is something we do in Finland as well. We look into who does this, and it doesn't have to always be. Here we have gender as an example, but we also want to see to that the young new people in the organization get the possibilities to meet big clients and build a network and have a good career at PwC. So this is also a thing that we want to take into account. And then of course a thing that's a lot more easier to measure is pay gap, if there's any pay gaps. So we have standardized models there, so we can measure if it's fair or not, and that's a thing that we in the Nordics are quite good at.
One thing like I want to ask from these KPIs, so for example, you have the percentage of women on territory leadership team. How do you identify those percentage? Because for example, a lot of time it's a pipeline issue, and you have to fix the pipeline before you can like put 50 leadership percentage. So how do you define those KPIs that are actually realistic and not just numbers?
Yes, we've actually now for 2024 made a prognosis.
Oh, nice.
So we're actually made a prognosis on what it's going to look like and what our targets are. So number-based company like ours makes targets. So we've actually been looking into what it would look like in 2024, what kind of changes we can make currently, and is this enough?
Mm.
So this is one way of tackling it, actually.
And do you like make these, are these like internal KPIs for you, or do you also have some public information to show what you're doing in the company?
This is something at the moment that we're working on at the moment. So it's not, the prognosis isn't even ready. As it's for coming years, so it's actually a thing that we have on the table currently and working on at the moment. So
because I saw in the diversity, you were the 5 the blocks that you have, and was also the external, how the company looks externally. So the question was like, do you use these from past, not the coming one? Have you been using the KPIs to also show to outside world what PwC has been doing, so people can also go and check if they want to how it has developed or grown?
Yeah, Sanna-Maria has been digging in and looking also at our previous numbers, and so, but
Yeah.
we are following it up and we are presenting some of our numbers. But of course we have more that are internal, and some you can't, some are very sensitive, and some are things that you can't even share because it's personal, that just HR has, for instance.
Yeah.
So,
but there's different
dimensions. But yes, Sanna-Maria.
Yeah, we do actually have our corporate responsibility report or review on our webpage, and it's I would say it's quite comprehensive. It has quite a lot of information there, and what we have. There are some numbers, but also it tells what we have been doing in this field. It's it's more than just a diversity. It's like the whole corporate responsibility. But I really suggest you to look at it. It's really interesting to look at it, and it's like public for everyone. We want to show what we have been doing, and show also that this is important to us. The way that we produce that review for public.
That sounds great. That's PwC has been sharing quite a lot of research and like already, so it's quite sharing in that terms. But we will check that out too. Maybe I will link it also to the YouTube.
Yes, please do. That's something that we're proud of sharing these issues.
Okay, let's go forward to if you have more to present. Yeah.
Yes. And then we wanted still to stress the importance of KPIs. and how we design the accountability and how we focus on it. And I really wanted to stress also that we focus on the three areas where we want to be very, very diverse and inclusive. Is if you start with our process overall with concerning people is the recruiting, and that we really, people tend to employ people that are similar to oneself. So that's something that we want to train people away from, and we want to give them unconscious bias training and training in consideration to recruiting, that we are fair, and we measure that as well, how fair we are and how many different people, and why we've chosen to take a person forward and why not. So that's an important dimension for us to sort of check ourselves as well, because everybody has some dimension of unconscious bias. So it's really important to sort of continuously keep track of oneself, so to make this as fair as possible. And then we have the retaining, that's a sort of how to when people are at PwC, that they have the well-being that we were talking about previously, and work-life balance really in focus there. And we want people to sort of strive and do the best they can. So we really want to focus that the experience, PwC experience, is a really good one. And this is also reflected in our client work. So we really think it's really important to sort of have the KPIs in order, and the KPIs just shows how well we're doing with our people. So we want to measure that. Yeah. And then we have the advancing process, of course, that we talked about earlier, that we want it to be fair and sort of measurable as well. So these are the dimensions where we do it.
Yeah, so Kari, you had a question, you can go ahead, and then I also have a question, I'll go after you.
Yeah, I think that, again, what's interesting hearing about your journey and so on is that definitely the performance measurement is super important, and that's actually specifically what we ask you to present, because it wasn't touched upon as heavily in the other guest and presentation. But what I also really admire is that how many times you've been talking about your people and your customers and so on. So we really feeling again this people-centric aspect of things. So in a way, maybe from my side, as a conclusion on this topic, I have the feeling that it's not a corporate checkbox exercise. So it's not just that we've done the D&I and we've done the care and it's there and it looks nice, but it's really something that you are constantly trying to improve, and also taking your people and all your customers as well in the journey. So I think that's super important, and probably by your actions also you might influence some of your customers to have more gender diversity and so on, like you mentioned. So I think it's really, really interesting, very interesting journey from you guys. Yeah, so not a question, just congratulations. Priyanka, go ahead.
That's really great. And for me, I have been working with also companies and developing and helping them building KPIs, and you mentioned the diversity KPIs really nicely, but what about, you have been talking about inclusion and retaining, so how do you measure that? What kind of KPIs do you have for, let's say, inclusion? Do you measure like belongingness, fairness? How do you measure all these things, and what do you have any framework for measuring inclusion and fairness in the organization?
We have we've been focusing, we've built up our portfolio mostly around diversity. This inclusion dimension is one that we've added on more focus on lately. I'm thinking now out loud. Inclusion, we in our prognosis, for instance, now for the coming years, we are also looking into how many people that aren't from a pure or not a pure, but with not Finnish as mother tongue. how big a proportion that is. And we're also putting targets for that for 2024. So that's sort of an inclusion measurement that we are thinking of. What else concerning inclusion?
I can say just a practical example for our team where I'm working at the moment. We just went through all the client teams and checked that we have different ages and different grades working in different kinds of client teams, so that we review them and see what's happening there and make sure that they are inclusive and not just not like Helen said, not just a big fish for the guys and then something else for the others, but checking them also.
Yeah,
every now and then.
And that's definitely a dimension that is overall included, that who goes to what client, who does what, and not in that sense, it doesn't have to be, it's just that nobody's treated unfairly. So that's sort of the inclusion dimension, I would say there, that it doesn't have to do with gender or anything, or age or anything, but everybody's on the same line. That's sort of what we're focusing on, really. So that's how we follow up, and also that people are staffed in the correct way on different projects and so on. So it's not unfair there. So that's sort of always an issue that we want to focus on during the coming 4 years also, that it's sort of see-through and fair, because often things have a reason, and it's also often just sort of sharing the reasons why it is something, so it doesn't feel unfair. So that's sort of a really important dimension for us to try to be fair. And that belongs to the leadership as well, training and so on, to sort of communicate and ask and have a listening ear to what people want to do and can do. And also we have, of course, also issues that we want them to do, but you can, of course, affect your own work as well. So that is making everybody on the same line and included is a long answer to a short question.
That was nice, detailed.
So thank you so much. We don't have any more questions on this topic for now. We might have some in the offline hangout. So I propose that we move to the recruitment corner in a short way, and then we can move on to the offline hangout part of our meeting.
I will shortly show you this slide. Just these are the public numbers that we have on diversity to come to the last 2 financial years for us. So the staff gender distribution is quite 50-50, but it's the board and territory leadership team. They are the ones that we are still developing. The board is going the right way. It's almost 50-50. And then the territory leadership team, there is some way to go. But as we have discussed, it's you have to develop that with the time and see how it goes. And then we have also the average age here, and we are quite young firm, but it's so we have lots of.
Sorry, I need to make a joke, but I sincerely hope for your board that you will never reach the 50-50, or somebody will be in trouble to be cut in half. So let's hope that there will be either 2 male or 2, 3 male or 3 female at different given time, but hopefully no one is 2.5.
Yeah. Okay, and we just wanted to note here that it's like every year we analyze the distribution of salary and bonus and promotion decisions between genders, because the gender is one of the main areas here. But then these are the numbers that you can also find from the corporate responsibility review. But then we'll thank, and then we will jump to recruitment corner. So we have here just a short notice that we are continuously searching for talents, and we have been recruiting all time, even during this last year, which was quite an interesting year for all of us. And there are, I think there are all the time quite a lot of open positions that you can find from our webpage. But if you can't find the right place for you there, please send us an open application, and we will look through that. And there are some links. Yeah.
Sorry, Sanna-Maria. I actually talked to our head of this recruiting, or who is responsible for this, and she asked me to stress that we look through each and every applicant, and also tell them, she said, tell them to put a lot of focus on their experience. That was her message to everybody in this channel. So experience is important for us, and we're looking into every one of the
That's good
applicants.
to know. Reassuring.
Very good. So I would like to thank you very much, ladies, on behalf of myself and Priyanka and our audience. We had, I think, very interesting presentation from you guys. So really thank you for the efforts into putting this together. And again, very interesting journey. So for each of these episodes with different companies, we're always learning something new. So it was a very much our privilege to have you. And Priyanka, maybe I give you the final word.
Yes, thank you once again from my side also, and to all the audience as well. It's a really interesting topic, and thank you for sharing everything that you are doing. I think we will continue a little bit after this with our audiences, but for now, thank you so much.
Yes, bye everyone, and thank you for our audience on YouTube.
Thank you.
Thank you.